It was definitely different. It was fun, that's for sure. I think that during the time of the quarantine, my schedule was a little bit different. Um, I knew that I was prepared. I wasn't, going out throwing against hitters or going to gyms and working out. It was just me in the garage with a couple dumbbells and some kettlebells, and about 95% of my catch was just with the net. And then I threw up a mound a couple times, and then I got here and threw twice, and then hitters. But the time I spent, with myself throwing into the net is something that was truly a blessing, just for the fact that I knew what I needed to do to get better, which was throwing the fastball. My fastball at the time, before all this happened, I was essentially throwing a one-finger fastball. My index finger was coming off the heater. I was losing spin efficiency. So for me to, be able to work on that on my own, I didn't have any kind of technology to tell. It was more of a feeling thing, but that's kind of what I worked on playing catch against the net. Threw a couple clean Fuego balls, changeups that everyone has seen. But for the most part, it was me just trying to work on how to get my fastball to come off both of my fingers at the same time. And for me to actually test it out here, against our hitters, that's something that, is kind of a good instant feedback. My body feels healthy. Haven't been too sore today. So that I think that I'm taking away from the outing in general is that, I'm going to be comfortable going into the season, even though I didn't prepare as some of the other guys who could always throw like 4 innings, or, there's been guys on our team who've thrown the hitter since, we stopped. But to show that, I'm right there without doing that kind of thing is mentally satisfying for myself, knowing that, I'm going to be ready either way.
How gratifying is it knowing the struggles you had last season that were a bit undefined to most of us, that you feel good physically, you have your fastball coming off those 2 fingers that you want going into this abbreviated season?
Yeah, it feels great. Number one, especially the way I threw the ball, at the end of the year was not, obviously my A game. It was one of those things that, we took care of over in the off season, and now going into the modified season, it's something that will not, hopefully ever pop back up. But it's just one of those things that to stay on top of, to be able to go out there, and even if it's not 100%, just to have a 90% of my health is going to be great. And then, adding part 2 to that with, trying to actually throw a fastball that does what it's supposed to do. And I'm not going to be perfect with it. I'd say at my best right now, I'm doing it, 50% of the time, but 50% of the time is a lot better than, 0% of the time, which is what I've done, probably the past year, 2, 3 years of my career. So now it's going to be the same velocity with a little bit better spin, hopefully. And, with the abbreviated season, it's going to be a lot better, for our team, guys that go out there, knowing that I put in that frame of work to be able to go out and throw a fastball that actually spins right.
Do you have more clarity, Joe, of what was ailing you last year physically?
Yeah, I've always had clarity.
Okay.
The clarity has always, I guess, been there. But that's not an issue for myself right now. So it's good. I feel great.
Okay. Thank you for your time.
It's fun.
Next question is from JP Hornstra. Go ahead, JP.
Hey, Joe, just to expand on what you were talking about with respect to your fastball and your spin efficiency and releasing it with the 2 fingers at the same time, that's more about the movement that you get from that pitch than the velocity, right?
No, because I think so when I was throwing it with the balls coming off of 1 finger, so essentially it was actually giving me less spin, and with less spin, especially on my 2 finger, you're going to get more movement. Typically, the higher the spin, the truer the spin, you get that, rise ball effect, that true spin on the ball. I was essentially throwing one finger and slicing the ball, turning it over like how you would do the changeup. And that's what created less spin, because obviously with one finger throwing at something compared to two fingers ripping down on the seam is going to be less spin. So that's why I went to my two-seamer last year and had some good success with it. Be able to throw it to lefties, front door lefty, be able to get a tail off the plate. It wasn't because I wanted to go to my two-seamer, it was just because that literally was my last resort. I couldn't throw a four-seamer for a strike, and then if I did throw for a strike, it was going to get hit. So now that we figured it out, what the problem was, like I said, it's something that I work on every day playing catch, something I work on every day, when I'm going to take the mound. And it's going to be something that, I'm not going to be perfect at, but to be able to be where, I feel I'm throwing the ball right now, it's definitely, a big jump and a lot of progress for, the team, especially the people who brought it to my attention. I could always feel that until we really looked at it on tape and figured out what was going wrong. It was hard to kind of pinpoint it. So now that we have a good idea, from pitching coaches to front office to teammates, so it's kind of took a team effort, and now we're going to see what happens when I could, be able to throw a four-seam fastball for a strike.
So you were throwing four-seamers last night?
All four-seamers, yeah.
Okay. And then just one last thing. You sort of talked about being 90% healthy, even if it's not 100%. Like, what percentage health were you at by the end of last season?
Are you talking about, as of now, I'm 100%, but I would even, take 90. I mean, by the end of the year, nobody's 100% healthy. I honestly couldn't put a number on it, but it's just I wasn't able to actually pinpoint, the number, but I was good enough and I felt good enough to be able to pitch and compete and be able to get people out. But there's no number that I could put on.
Okay. Thanks, Joe.
Next question is from Pedro Mora. Go ahead, Pedro.
Hey, Joe. I heard you on a podcast explaining that you considered opting out but did not because you didn't want to let down your teammates. Could you explain how close you were to that decision and what it was like to learn that your longtime teammate David had made that choice?
How close I was, it never really got past the step. Me and my wife, just kind of bringing it up here and there. Then we never got to the step where we really sat down and expressed, what the season will entail. So it was more of just kind of service level where the comment would be brought up here and there, but it wasn't, I'd say, anywhere close to being serious. But yeah, I mean, it's one of those things that going into a season like this, I think as a player, as a coach, as a fan, you knew that there was going to be players who obviously didn't feel comfortable and guys would be opting out. And for me, myself, I can't speak for everybody, but I know everyone in the Dodgers clubhouse, I haven't asked every single person, but I know everyone respects DP's decision. And, that's something that's probably gone through most guys' heads, honestly. But for myself, knowing that, my situation, I have 3 kids, two of them, are a little over 2 months. So a decision like that is obviously a personal decision. And me knowing DP and where he was at, I respect DP for his decision. And, it's something that, he's one of my best friends. And, we've talked with him. He still keeps in contact. And it's one of those things that, his decision for him was the right decision. And like I said, throughout the league, there's guys who are doing it, just see a new one once a week. But I think it's just one of those things that I think fans understand. Obviously, teammates, and front office, and everyone understands that this was definitely a possibility. And it's not going to be a guy opting out and going to get crushed. Not on social media, but I'm sure that people are going to understand what players are going through, and obviously there'll be people that don't. But there's people that disagree with you no matter what in life. But for DP, we supported him. We make him feel like he's part of the team still. He watches all the games. He texts us. He's talking about change up I threw to Justin Turner last night. We were talking this morning on the team thread. So he's still part of it. He's still part of our team. Just because he isn't here, he still is engaging. Rooting, supporting, talking baseball. So that's one of the cool things about David Price. It'd be easy for someone to opt out and obviously just kind of isolate themselves. But DP is a guy who obviously opted out, but he cares so much about other people that he literally is the first one firing off text the next day. It's not late at night about the game last night. So that's one of the cool things about David Price. He's a good human being. And like I said, we all respect his decision here.
Next question from Beth Harris. Go ahead, Beth.
Hey, Joe, what exactly was going on with your body last season?
Can you say it again? Sorry.
What exactly was going on with your body last season?
It wasn't functioning as it usually functions. Wasn't my best velocity. Wasn't my sharpest curveballs. Things like that happen, and it just happened at the end of the year.
Had you experienced that type of thing before in your career?
Yes, I have. At different times, I've had different, I'd say, time frame and periods of seasons that some are worse than others, some aren't. But at the time frame we were at last year, I tell you what, it wasn't the worst that I've ever pitched through. So at the time that we were at, my body was something that if I've had it, let's say 5 times before, this was probably like the least affected that I had to go out there and pitch with. So we were comfortable with obviously health, obviously how well I was throwing the ball, with stuff, and to be able to go out there and all, especially with my teammates, they were, obviously there for support. They knew how I was feeling. But yeah, my body was, it's not my A game, but, I was able to come out and perform at high level still.
Thank you.
Then I have one final question from Jorge Castillo. Go ahead, Jorge.
Hey, Joe, earlier this week, Max Muncy said that you guys, some guys are talking about possibly having some kind of rules when it comes to behavior off the field during the season, just given everything, the risks that you guys might take traveling and all that. Just wondering if you guys have advanced those discussions, if anything's been settled on as a group.
Yeah, it's definitely something that's been talked about. We haven't made our 2020 Dodger rule book yet for the players, policed by players, but no, it's definitely something we're all aware of. We've all talked about it. It's gonna be one of those things. The hardest thing to do is gonna be everything besides playing the game of baseball. And I believe, which is if you're sick and you come to the field, you're obviously have a really, really great chance of getting someone else sick. So just to be mentally focused on and off the field. Usually when you come to the park, you just focus on playing baseball. During times like this, when we go home, it's going to be another game. It's going to be one of those things where, you might want to go do something that you used to do during the season that's fun, and you're going to think twice and not going to want to do those things. So it's one of those things that during this 60-game span, it's a shortened season. Even if it was a full season, it's just one of those things as a player, when you come to the field, I want to see, we see guys walking around the clubhouse locked in. But now with the situation we're in, when we go home, I don't want our teammates or guys or anyone else to let their guard down. So it's going to be one of those things like the season's going to be a 24-hour thing, just because of the pandemic and times like this. So, it's going to be just as hard when you're at home, not doing things to get sick, as you do to come here. So we've talked about stuff like that. And our group of guys, we have a great idea of how we're going to go out and attack that. But like I said, it's ultimately a challenge. It's going to be a challenge for everybody in the league. And us as Dodgers, we're willing to accept that challenge and hold each other accountable. But like I said, it's going to be one of those things where usually a baseball season you come to the field and that's when your time to lock it in. But it's going to be all year round, or for the next 2 months and 24/7. Try to keep that baseball mentality, take it away, go home, try to keep that mentality. Try to play the other part of the game, which is fighting. Obviously the coronavirus.